And like Megan said, everything was when we went live, everything was tested, everything was working. So something changed recently. I don't know what.
Nope, that never worked.
I have all the test the checklists.
Nope. We fixed the Avaya. We fixed it with the Avaya phones because it wasn't doing it with the Avaya phones. We that the rover to rover extension part never worked. And the ticket was closed, and I kept on explaining that it was never working. I know if you call like name to name within rover, that will work, but it's the extension part in which there will be some point, at least in the NICU, I can't speak for the rest of the house, where they will have to call the extension part, which is why I'm concerned that this is an issue going forward.
So, Mark, who were the people testing from Care New England? Was it Henry or was it Bob already?
Henry, Peter, this woman called Janice Holt, she no longer is here. They all had the apps on their phone and they were all making test calls. You know, we did this over multiple days. And I think the Epic side, the Epic team was Parker Anderson. I have to pull out some of the other names from the email. You know, everything was tested. That's why I'm surprised Megan said it never worked, because I remember being on those calls, just listening to all the testing.
Got it. So the testing from rover to rover never was,
That's what she's claiming. I gotta find I'm sure the checklist and all the tests were there and everything was marked down. On the implementation checklist.
So I had opened the ticket that probably you're referring to, because we had a whole bridge line for that, and we had lots of testing, and I know lots of people were pulled in for that, and I know it took a couple weeks to resolve. But it was originally it was the Avaya connecting to a rover through the extension, so that part was fixed. But that's the original ticket that went in, and that's where a bunch of people got involved. But the other aspect of it was the rover to rover was never tested, unless it's obviously something was tested before I came on, if it ever worked. But ever since I've been on this project, since I don't know, go live time in October, when I've tested it, it has never worked.
We're doing the meetings with, where, let's say, Henry, let's say the private architect was involved. Do you remember where on those meetings by any chance, Megan, that it appears that Peter Lopez also tested some of the woman and infant side?
Hi, this is Bob.
Henry never got to, obviously
Henry
I don't
was
know
already
on
gone
his
by
behalf.
then.
Hold on one
And
second.
yes, Jesus, I can't be. Go ahead, Megan. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hold on one second.
I'm getting pulled in 4 directions at the same time. So rover to rover has worked. It's always worked. I don't understand why Megan's saying in her situation it hasn't. It is the other way that does not, because rover is completely independent of us. Rover goes from us to Twilio in the cloud and back. So it can talk to itself, always has. Rover to Avaya or Avaya to rover is questionable. That's kind of where we're at. And all 3 of my phones are ringing.
Okay. Robert, hey, can you check on that as per this statement, let's say?
No, I can't. We'd have to complete a test call and see what's happening.
Sorry, I had a phone call that was coming in because I'm also running the unit.
I think
I can't speak on behalf of what Henry tested before I came on. I mean, I'm not sure. But when we had that bridge line call, we tested the Avaya to the rover. which I know a bunch of people got involved and that had worked, but we just never fixed the rover to rover part.
Okay, what are you saying, Megan? I'm not understanding. You're saying rover to rover has never worked. I'm saying rover to rover has always worked. Where is the
No,
disconnect?
it has not. The rover to rover, as in far as like, if I call a name, like if I say I want to call Bob, that part works. But if I am calling, like if your extension is 1234556, I'm trying to call that with the Epic Rover phone.
Okay,
The phone
that's
will
different.
ring, but I cannot hear audio. You like
Okay.
so
All right,
that
so
part has never worked.
That is a firewall issue, because what's happening, as the telephony people can say, is that it goes out, there's a block of 60,000 extensions that are within Rover that handles their own calls. So that's what we need to be looking at, because what you're saying is when somebody makes an X500 call, it works. If somebody puts in an extension instead, it goes back to the session manager to determine whether this is going in or out, and therefore it is hitting our firewall, because that's Rover is looking at it as a name, as an Active Directory point, not as an extension number. Does that make sense?
And Megan, you're saying any 6XXX extension you dial is not working, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, we may need to get Epic involved, the Epic team, that the engineers that initially set this up also. Let me look at the emails. I can put in the chat the names of the engineers that worked on it. I have no idea how to get a hold of them.
Yeah, let's add the names. I think Parker is one, right? Mark.
Yeah, Parker Anderson, and I'm trying to remember the other. There was one other.
Yeah, share anything you have so that I can take a look also with Darren Crow. I think he was involved, and see if he can also help us to, gather the proper people from Epic, and then go again from there. Okay. I can see Don. No, sorry. Yeah, Parker. I have the name here. Just send an email.
There was another one. So Misbah was on the NWN side.
Yeah, but she's no longer.
Yeah,
I
she's no
think.
longer.
Mhm.
Michael Myers. That's a funny name.
Mhm.
Michael Myers was from Epic.
Okay.
Joshua Hawkins was
I have to
Epic.
step out.